Good evening, Chicago. Oh, I think I had that up too soon. Sorry about that, but we're going to get to that in a second. This is your host, Jerry Vasilatos. Welcome, friends of the show, fellow Chicagoans. We have a very special show tonight. Instead of the usual news and complaining that we do, which I never like to do because I like finding solutions for us. And we do sometimes find that with our viewers in the live chat talking about the issues that affect us all in Chicago. I have finally come to compiling my arts and entertainment program this evening, where there are two very, very exciting events happening this weekend in Chicago. And I am very blessed to actually know both talented, dynamic, and lovely women who I'm bringing on to talk about their mutual projects that everyone from Chicago can participate in this weekend. The first event we're going to cover is called the 48-Hour Film Project. I have some experience with the 48-Hour Film Project as a filmmaker. The 48-Hour Film Project is a film race competition where teams across the city of Chicago race to make a movie in 48 hours. And their kickoff is this Friday night. And they are expected to return their films in 48 hours on Sunday night, after which they will be judged and screened. And joining me to talk about the 48-Hour Film Project is this year's city producer, the media maven and hostess with the mostest, Miss Ericka Porter. There she is.
Hey, Jerry. Hey, everyone. I'm so glad to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. And to my audience, Ericka is just an amazing producer, creator, storyteller here in Chicago. As I mentioned, I was very lucky to work with Ericka way back in the day when I was participating in the 48-Hour Film Project.
Yeah.
Ericka volunteered and she was my producer.
Yeah.
And we did that short film. And then I went on to be a city producer. And when I got just too burned out by it, Ericka stepped forward and said, Jerry, I hear they're looking for a new city producer. And I'm like, my dear, I cannot give you the highest recommendation. So, Ericka, tell us a little bit about yourself first, your experience in media, and then we can talk about this event that our fellow Chicagoans can participate in or come to the screenings later.
Okay. Well, I can say that I am almost a 25-year veteran in the television and media industry. My background, I actually have an undergrad in electronic media from University of Cincinnati, and I also have an MBA combined between Xavier and Purdue University. So I'm business focused as well, which is, I've been fortunate to be around tons of mentors in this space that have encouraged and inspired me, which sparked that energy in me to be able to transfer that energy onto other people. And we all know that it's, energy is magnetic. So to be mindful of the things that we say, the things that we do, be conscious as much as we can. Anyhow, I was very blessed and fortunate to just have a number of mentors and that helped to just guide me and steer me in this space. And eventually I started my own business. It led from 1 to 3. I am the owner of Chicks That Pitch. We are responsible for development and distribution. We also do casting. We are piggybacked off of Edit Talent Group, where we do production staffing for TV shows, for live events, for corporate events. I can keep going with that.
She's a very dynamic woman, and you're also an author.
So I'm an entrepreneur. I'm also an author. So my book is entitled Confessions of the Media Maven. I actually share that, us as creatives, we have real stories to tell. And those stories are demonstrated through our art, the art that we execute. Just like, music artists, musicians, you hear their stories, in their songs. It's the same thing with us who are visual artists. And so, this whole aspect of storytelling It's just been a motivator for me to keep and to help others to do the same. And so while I have my businesses and I'm doing all these other things, I'm very involved in the community. And many years ago, well, not many, but about, how long? It was about 13 years ago, I moved here shortly after I knew that I'm a huge networker. People, you have to be a huge networker if you're going to be in this space.
And you got to be comfortable doing it. You got to be comfortable doing it.
I'm just saying, and if you're having a hard time, just say, hey, Ericka, how do I do this? How do I talk to somebody? I got you. So, I wanted to be involved in this space here in Chicago. I didn't know anyone. My work was all back in the Central Ohio, the Ohio area, in Kentucky. So I learned that they also Chicago also had a 48-hour film project, submitted my information, said, hey, I'm available as a producer because at this point I had a little bit of credit at that time, but enough. I said I could be a makeup artist, I could be whatever needs to be done. Just let me know. And I got a phone call from this guy here.
You're far more valuable than you're valuable in all departments, but when I saw that you were also a producer, that was a really ambitious year. And I'm like, I normally produce and direct, and we had 25, 30 people on that team. So I'm like, Ericka, you want to produce?
And I went with it. It was so hot and it was fantastic. We were hustling. We still talk about those days. And, just working with you over the years, in addition, outside of even that space, you and I forged an amazing working relationship and a friendship. Yeah. And I'm just, I just want to thank you and just tell you that I'm so proud of you, for all that you've done. And, there's a lot of things that you do that goes unsaid or unheard of. And so, Jerry, just keep doing it. We're all here by your side. So
as long as I've got strong partners alongside me like yourself, we make each other look good.
Yes, absolutely. But I could continue. I could talk all day about my background. But media maven, mompreneur, divapreneur, entrepreneur. That would summarize who I am in a sense.
And people can find Ericka on social media. Looking down there, we do have the Twitter handles. I didn't add the Facebook links because we're limited with space in the Facebook or in the YouTube description. But you go to those Twitter handles, you'll be able to find Ericka, the 48-Hour Film Project, as well as anything if you want to reach out to Ericka or find out more about the 48-Hour Film Project by going to 48hourfilm.com/Chicago. Yes. And this is the page where teams have registered. Now, last I checked, I think you had 45 teams registered. Is that number gone up now?
And we've gotten a number this evening because they are aware that we're getting closer and closer to the date. So we've had a few submissions come in this evening as well. So
Do you know if you've hit 50 yet?
We're almost there. Okay. I would say we're almost there.
And I think 50.
We're higher 40s than anything. Yes.
Is 50 your capacity this year?
59 is the capacity.
Oh, 59. Actually. So there's room for more people to register.
So there's still room for more.
Okay.
There's definitely room for more. So if you have not registered, don't wait because there are some folks that are able to get that, close enough to get that registration, but you don't want to miss your shot at this year. I mean, this is our 20th anniversary, you guys. And this is the first year that we've actually been out. It's a hybrid setup. So, it's going to be a combination of, in live, in person, and then also virtual for those who want to play it safe and or will be in other cities or towns or or things are going on. So we just want to make it more accommodating for everyone this year.
Which I want to say, I'm very grateful you're doing that. You're being responsible. I mean, I think that we've all been impacted by the pandemic. Last year, I think they may have had a virtual 48, but I mean, I think in the beginning of the year, even though I had resigned from being the city producer, just because I resigned before the pandemic happened because I had some medical issues. I was going to have a knee replacement surgery. And I'm like, there's no way I can promote and recruit this year. So I did that, but then the pandemic happened, which threw everything off last year. So when they returned earlier this year and said, Jerry, you're past your surgeries and recoveries. I'm like, I just, too many other things going on. So I had referred them to two. I have to admit, I referred them to two other creatives.
Yeah.
And both creatives, like one was interested, then they flaked, and the other realized it was a lot to take on. And then Ericka contacted me. And I'm like, why didn't I think to contact Ericka? And I know why I didn't, because I knew that there are so many pros and cons, and this is such an overwhelming thing to take on.
Yeah.
I think subconsciously it's like I didn't want to burden you with it.
Yeah.
But when you reached out, you're like, I hear they're finding a producer. I'm like, oh my God. Actually, you would be the perfect person for it because of all of your experience and because you know how to multitask. Yeah. And I told her the pros and the cons. And I said, look, you're going to be fantastic doing this, but keep in mind what the challenges are, because I don't want them to be too burdensome later. And we talked about it. And I was so happy when you're like, I can do it. I'm like, great, let's talk to headquarters.
It's going to take a lot to scare me away,
No, I know that. And was happy to have you there. Oh, sorry about that. So, it all worked out for the best. So I'm sorry, I lost the screen there. Let me put it back up. Here we go. So, Ericka, tell us about the 48-hour film project beyond what I said in the beginning, and how it's going to unfold this Friday night.
So, the 48-hour film project, you know what? The best way for me to describe the 48-hour film project is that last minute, that deadline that you you have not even attempted to do the work on. It's fastly approaching. In the next 24 hours, you have to get all that work done and get it done right in 2 days. That's all you've got.
Yeah, filmmakers have got 2 days. So what happens is,
48 hours. So
they register on this page, and then they show up Friday night and tell the audience what is involved and what the parameters are for what the teams have to follow to turn in 48 hours.
Yeah. So to just also just to continue on just a little bit, just for those who've never participated. You will need to be registered with a team, and in order to participate, and you can actually go on the website. So you must be registered, and even in order for you to attend the kickoff, which is this Friday, October the 1st, at 6 p.m. So what you can expect on that day is the actual genre selection. And from that point, from 7:30 p.m. until 7:30 p.m. on Sunday, you will have to create and shoot and produce and edit and submit on time a short film based on the genre that you were selected. We will not be sharing with you right now how that will go transpire. That information will be revealed on the day of on that location. So even if you're not there in person, you will have a link that you will have private access to the activities for that evening.
So also talk about the fact they will draw a genre, or actually they'll draw two genres to select from. And a genre can be comedy, musical, drama, suspense. And then they also have a few other elements that all teams have to integrate into the parameters of what they turn in. And also, I think the films have to be anywhere from 3 to 8 minutes long, I think is the length. So we're not talking about a major motion picture. We're talking about a short film that's more manageable.
Yes. Yeah. So you definitely want to, there's certain elements that have will have to be included. We obviously can't share that information, until the day of, but there are certain elements, certain lines that will need to be included, certain names that would need to be included. Right. So it takes certain level of skill set and community effort to get something like this done in the course of 2 days. And in general, those who register are pretty successful getting it accomplished, even if they don't have a full short. they have, at least gotten, the work done, most of the work done and or almost there in 2 days. So, people do, and or if there's like some, I'm sure, Jerry, you work in knowing about all the technical issues and glitches that folks have had, in the past. But, we know tech is just tech.
So the filmmakers make their films, turn them in Sundays. Then what? We have, I know that we have judges.
I'm sorry, Jerry. I'm having a difficult time hearing you. Sound kind of.
Oh, I'm
staticky.
sorry.
It's kind
How
of
about now?
Staticky.
How are you doing now? Can you hear me now?
It's still the same.
Yeah. I don't think I'm having an issue on this end. Let me.
Okay.
How can I correct this? I'm not sure if this has to do with. I don't know what it has to do with. Let me very, very quickly open up my YouTube to see what I'm hearing there to try to quickly troubleshoot this. But stand by, everybody.
Okay.
Working.
All right. So let me put us on here. I don't want there to be an echo. Test 1, 2, 3.
It's like, yeah, I don't know if it's the microphone or the line or something.
So, Ericka, I'm not hearing any static or echo through what's going on to YouTube.
That's good. You can hear me clear. So
I can hear you clear. Yeah, you're coming through clear. Let me.
You sound more.
Well, what I was talking about was, if you can hear me, tell us what happens after the teams turn in their films with judges and what happens after that. Oh, we lost Ericka. Let's see if she's going to log back in again real quick. Sorry for the technical difficulties, everybody. Maybe it was, it may have been a bad connection. There she is. Hey, Ericka.
Oh, yeah.
Is it better?
Yeah, it's better. I just kind of paused.
It's a connection issue.
Yeah, obviously.
Okay.
Okay,
so what I was asking was, the teams turn in their films. What happens after that? After Sunday, what can they expect?
So after Sunday, we go through judging. First off, you must turn your film in on time in order to be considered to go to the next step. And that next step is it goes through the screening process and judging process. Now, how this will be handled as far as screenings are concerned is that you will be able to screen virtually, in the comfort of your own home. So that information will be made available, and folks can then share that with their loved ones and their associates and what have you. But that information will be made available upon once we go through the initial process, and you all receive that via email. So there is a screening and judging process. Then the finals will then the top we call the best of. Well, we'll have an actual event. I call it a gold carpet award show, and that will be at the end of October. And we're going to have a lot of fun and really exciting things and folks involved. And we'll share more information on that here real soon. But I'm pretty excited about all the goodies that are going to be transpired for that night. And so everyone should be involved. No matter what point you're there, you start, or where you finish. I think that everyone should be involved and attend the Gold Carpet Award Show. I'm so looking forward to it.
And if you can't participate or find a team, there is a link on the website over here where you can find a team to join. If you don't want to register your own team, if you don't have enough people to put a team together, you can through the website. There's a resource link. You can look for teams that might be looking for people to add to their teams.
Yeah.
Additionally, I want to say, as the previous city producer, I am so proud of our filmmakers because for the last two cycles, and I think it was 2017 and 2018, by the time we hit our 15 years, it was the first time in Chicago's history doing this that our filmmakers went to the Cannes Short Film Corner in France.
Jerry, I'm telling
Chicago.
you.
And we're going to do it
yeah.
again. We're going to have a team this year do it again. I know.
Absolutely. There's no question about it. I mean, Chicago is just amazing, and we've been fortunate to have you, over as the Chicago City producer, and others that have helped to steer the way. And so I'm just excited to be able to be here to share this space with you, and you to support me as we move forward and help to bring all these amazing filmmakers together and showcase. I mean, because it doesn't matter, like I said, where you start or finish. We're all the best of. We're all the best of. And I'm proud to be here. I'm not from Chicago, folks, but I am home. Most definitely home.
And we're so happy to have you here. Ericka, I know you've got a million things to juggle as you get ready for this weekend. But what I do want to do before we depart is I want to share a 48-hour film project short that I produced and directed that actually features our next guest, Stephanie Rogers.
I love it.
Just to give an example of, before you watch the short film, understand that and this was from 2009. This is when I was doing it many, many years ago. So the genre that we drew was mockumentary, and the elements that we had to include in our short film and our script were a character named Louis Grimes, who was a city employee. That was supposed to be his occupation. A line of dialogue, how much money are we talking about? And a prop, which was an apple. Now, all those elements, every team had to use, although they drew a different genre. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you our entry in 2009. It was called Inside America, a mockumentary. I'll come back after that, Ericka. We can talk really briefly, and then we're going to segue into Story Jam with Stephanie. But here you go, guys. Enjoy the 2009 Chicago 48-hour film project produced by Team Nightstar, Inside America.
Welcome back to Inside America, the documentary news show that takes you inside America. I'm Samantha Savage. With cities across the country facing continued fiscal difficulties, legions of Americans are facing the harsh realities of budget cuts that are forcing them into unemployment. Drake Tanner brings you this story from Chicago.
We all have friends and family who've been affected by the economic downturn. More and more cities have been forced to make the tough decisions to rein in spending. Meet Alyssa and Elissa, two dedicated young women caught in a web of deceit and discrimination related to the city's Metro Transit Agency, who just happen to be twins. So, Alyssa and Elissa, walk us down this sordid path of intolerance and injustice. Two people with equal qualifications, stellar performance reviews, and perfect attendance on the job at the MTA. What went wrong?
Well, we've always enjoyed finding jobs where we could work together.
So you do everything together?
Duh! We have a very special bond.
And indeed they do, because Alyssa and Elissa are Siamese twins. So you two have never been apart. So, tell us about that fateful day. You went into work.
We loved our jobs. It was the glue that held us together. Talk around the water cooler was that we were both up for promotions. Co-assistant supervisor. We're totally awesome at our jobs. And everyone knows it. We just came back from lunch when Mr. Smith called us into his office.
Elissa, please report to Mr. Smith's office in HR.
Promotion! Elissa, congratulations on your new promotion. Welcome to middle management. Elissa, you're fired. Clean out your desk.
Come with us, ma'am.
No. She goes. She stays.
And that's when things went terribly wrong. So, why did you terminate them?
Budget cuts.
Budget cuts. So, really, how much money are we talking about?
Look, I had to let one of them go. Besides, you're overlooking the fact that I did promote the other one.
And somehow you don't see this as discrimination.
What was I supposed to do? Split them up myself? You know, you want to know about discrimination? Let me tell you about discrimination. I was one of Transair's top pilots until 9/11.
But some of the twins' coworkers shared a different story.
Oh, you mean those two clingy blonde broads, the ones that got fired? Yeah, I remember them. I don't know if it was discrimination or not, but I'm pretty sure one of them got fired because she was a woman. Just saying.
We spoke to another high-ranking city employee who agreed to talk to us on condition of anonymity.
Of course it was discrimination. He couldn't even keep their names straight. In fact, he once told me, Elissa, who can tell them apart? And honestly, what's the point? Plus, one time, he sexually harassed me. This is all off the record, right?
Alyssa and Elissa's discrimination suit is still pending. In the meantime, these two courageous sisters have founded a support group for other city employees who've also found themselves on the wrong side of a pink slip. Workers like streets and sanitation employees John and Jan Skabamowitz, whose story we'll explore in a future edition of Inside America.
Okay, goofy times, huh?
I love it. I love it. I love it.
But that's an example. That's an example of what the teams
Yeah.
can put together. The
Yeah.
apple, we didn't know where to use the apple, so we just had like the homeless guy walking behind the city employee eating it.
Yeah.
The city employee who was supposed to be confidential, we identified his name for laughs, and then
Yeah.
a line of dialogue. So that and that's mockumentary, which is easy. So you can do it like a documentary show. But that was a lot of fun to do, and I figured it would like be a good way to give people a sense of the type of short films that are made, so that audiences will be able to come and either watch the virtual screenings online, or come to the awards after judges have determined which films are the best of the best at the award screening.
Yeah. It's definitely. I was actually pulling up because I wanted to make sure that people were aware of exactly where we're at right now, as far as numbers are concerned, because this is a really it's a really great opportunity for we're at 46
Okay.
teams. Yep, 46 teams, folks. So and it is Tuesday, and so I think it's a great opportunity for folks to get together to gain some if you're not experienced, to gain some experience, to connect, network, because it's about networking with folks. Also possibly getting some awards under your belt.
Exactly.
There are some prizes, some awards and some prizes that are going to be involved. And so shout out to some of our sponsors, including South Loop Hotel, Chicago South Loop Hotel, and Ziliak Law Group. Of course, our buddy, Zach Ziliak,
Yep.
MS Networks, LLC, Night Star. So thank you. And I've got a laundry list of others. I would have to have Mike on the line to but you guys will meet Mike there too. So when you see him, just say hi, because he's the one that is making sure that we get this train rolling. So, or assisting with get this train rolling. So, yeah.
Once more, everybody can register right over here at 48hourfilm.com/Chicago.
Yes.
Join a team or keep an eye on that page for when the virtual screenings are up online, as well as the live awards. And we're probably looking at virtual screenings second week of October with the awards out sometime after that. And I think I might have, if I can't have Ericka back on the show when the screenings happen, at least I'll mention it to our viewers to remind you that you can finally see those films.
Yes, yeah, definitely. It is. There's no experience like the 48-hour film project, whether you're a participant or whether you're an audience member. So it's a one of a kind experience, and so I'm just encouraging anyone who, if you're aspiring filmmakers, or or if you're professionals, and you just you need a little break and want to have some fun. This is where to do it. I'm telling you.
This is where to do it.
Yeah.
Listen, Ericka, I'm going to let you go because we have Stephanie in the green room. It's always a pleasure to see you. I'm so glad I could bring you on to share this with everybody.
Thank you.
I'm going to take us off. I'm going to take us off with a preview for everyone of what Story Jam is about, and then we will return with Stephanie Rogers. So enjoy. Thank you, Ericka.
Good night, everybody. Thanks, Jerry. Good night.
What is that magazine that like homeless people sell?
Streetwise, I represent those street guys with celebrities of great repute.
One day, like, I'm gonna be telling this story, and like that's like a real shit ending.
Now everybody thinks you need credentials, accolades, awards, and degrees from fancy schools.
I realized I knew his ex-wife because I'm her therapist.
When you don't live to your mom and dad, that's so sad, that's so sad. When you don't live to your mom and dad, that's so sad. Now I want you to tell everybody about that time Phil Donahue's son called you a nigger. That's so sad, that's so sad, that's so sad. Phil Donahue, your son's a racist, and I bet you didn't even know.
That was the very talented and lovely creator of Story Jam that you saw, who was also one of our conjoined twins in Inside America. I'd like to welcome my friend and very, very talented creative here in Chicago, Miss Stephanie Rogers.
Hello.
Stephanie, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Jerry. Hello, and thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on. I was so excited when I saw this past weekend on social media. You have, this is the first Story Jam now, I think, coming out of this crazy time we've been, a live show. You've been doing it for a while. That little taste of Story Jam that we got, let me just briefly preface this. So Stephanie, as a producer, finds people with amazing stories. They tell her their stories. Stephanie writes the songs to go along with their stories. They have the storyteller come on the show, and then they perform the music live. And I am just so impressed in that creative process. So Stephanie, tell us, as well as like filling out more regarding the shows, the history of Story Jam, how you first came up with this idea and decided that you could produce it and find the stories to make it a really exciting live entertainment event.
You're too kind. First of all, thank you for all those accolades, Jerry. When you talk about politics, you don't speak so so optimistically. But thank you.
Why do you think I had you ladies on tonight? It's like, here's the good stuff. We don't have to like look at the muck and the garbage we got to deal with. This is the inspirational, fun stuff that's supposed to elevate us.
It sure is. That's what it is. It's exactly what it is. The whole point of Story Jam actually is to sort of elevate the level of joy in the room and to raise up sort of a sense of community and build bridges and connect people and entertain people. But it started in 2014 out of kind of tragedy, actually, unfortunately. I was leading an event band. I had been in rock and roll bands, big hair, black nails, black lipstick. You may remember those days, Jerry, back when we were young. And and I was doing an event music, and suddenly I got this ear thing, which it's called tinnitus or tinnitus.
I have it too. I know what it's like.
I didn't know you had it, really?
Yeah. It's the constant ringing in the ears. Yeah.
It's constant, incessant ringing in the ears. And I was on a gig doing an event, and with big speakers and blasting monitors and everything, and my ears just couldn't take it anymore. And they have been ringing at a very high pitch, very loudly ever since then. And actually, it turned into a little bit of a blessing, because eventually with tinnitus or tinnitus, you habituate to it. And so your body just gets your brain and your ears just get used to it. That's just what it is. It's like the fridge that when you take the fridge out of the house, you get a new fridge and you unplug it and you hear the noise that you were living with is gone. You're like, oh my God, that fridge was loud. Of course, I don't think refrigerators make noise like that anymore. But
no, but there's that electrical charge that you hear in the air you're more sensitive to.
Yeah, electrical charges, and it's like a backing truck that's always in your head.
Yeah. I've got it's mostly in the right ear. It's like just a really high pitched ring. And I mean, I'm used when it's really, really quiet, I hear it, but generally every other time it doesn't drive me crazy, because when you're talking, you're distracted by whatever else you're listening to.
Yeah. And interestingly, when you sing, it goes away completely. So luckily I get the chance to sing. But anyway, I'm dealing with this tinnitus. It's 2014 and I'm like, oh crap. What do I do now? And I had been attending storytelling shows and seeing all these storytellers. There are so many talented storytellers, especially in Chicago, but all over the country and maybe all over the world. And I thought, man, they're telling stories, but there is something missing with these storytelling shows, and it's music. And there could be a chance to connect music and create original music that sort of echoes in some way, or maybe you take a character from the story and you give them their own song and create another story within the song. Ericka was talking about how music can become stories. Yeah. And that's what we do at Story Jam. So we do a story, then a song, then a story and a song. But we're not doing that this time, but that's what we usually do, Jerry. And usually I write all the music, but God knows that was way too much work. It was too much. 7 songs every show. That was crazy. And that's what you were doing pre-pandemic when you were doing live shows. You were writing this, because I remember when it's like you're casting a wide net out to find people who've got stories, and then you would write the songs and then do this live show. So do you have other songwriters now working with you? Oh, actually, I think I know the answer to the question, but I'm gonna let you tell it, because I know that pandemic shut everything down and you've done workshops. So I have a feeling I know. You tell us what's been going on since the pandemic and how you've rebounded now with the show that's coming up this Friday. Well, thank you. Yes, we've rebounded. Here's what we did. It's the pandemic. We were doing live shows. We had already started doing in-person classes, storytelling classes, very sort of loosely, kind of here's a class and then maybe here's another class a few weeks later, 6 weeks later or something. When we went online and started offering online classes, people started signing up regularly. So we have a ton of classes now, which is neat because they're all on Zoom and it works. Storytelling can be taught on Zoom. And we also do like improv for storytellers and other things. We're doing a memoir class and stuff like that. But we did one virtual show. We partnered with 2 companies out of Seattle. There's this online community that has formed. We've all found each other, online storytellers. And so we kind of work together regularly. And I found a wonderful woman named Melissa Reeves, and she has a show called Melanin Stories Matter. And she has sort of the same DEI perspective that Story Jam has. We hope to be considered allies and raise up diverse voices, and particularly spotlight, particular diverse voices. And we have a Dr. Martin Luther King Day show every year that we've been doing for several years now. We did our MLK Day show virtually this year with Melanin Stories Matter and another organization called 1,000 Cuts. And we just focused on pretty much Black voices and Black stories. And then we had the music, but we had other songwriters. It was great. It was like our most successful show to date, probably. But this one, we're in person. We are at the Old Town School of Folk Music in person on Friday. And some of those same songwriters are coming back. And some of the storytellers from the national community are converging. They're descending upon Chicago this Friday. We will see how that goes. It should be cool.
And that starts at 8:00, I believe.
It starts at 8 o'clock.
And there are tickets available at the website we've got up here,
storyjamshow.com.
storygramshow.com.
How are we going to do what are we going to do if we have two competing shows that night?
Well, I wanted to come out to the show, but unfortunately, I have my live show to do here at 7:30, so I can't come out to your show. And actually, the 48-hour film project, they go from 6 to 7. So, participating teams are going to be running off and writing their films. But for those that don't want to participate in the 40-hour film project, here's the alternative to Friday night, Story Jam at the Old Town School of Folk Music. Stephanie, is this going to also be recorded so people can see it afterwards virtually, or will this just be a standalone live show?
It will be a live and in-person show, but it will also be, there's a live stream component to it. And the live stream tickets are separate, but you can just donate any amount to get a live stream, to get access to the live stream. So, and that will be up for all eternity.
So I want to hear more about, I know all about Stephanie Rogers, but I want you to share with our audience some of your background that brought you into songwriting. I tell us about your background, because I knew Stephanie in high school. I knew Stephanie way back when, and she was a talented actor. And I'm just going to start there. And I want to hear a little bit more about how your journey took you from there to where you are now as a songwriter, producing these shows and doing everything else that you're doing, and also sharing what else you're doing with us.
Jerry, you and I went to high school together, and you worked at Blockbuster, and I used to come in and get movie recommendations from you because you knew everything.
I like to think I did, but I'm glad that you thought so.
Do you remember that? Do you remember those years?
I remember. And that was that Blockbuster store on Skokie Boulevard. That was the flagship Blockbuster store. It was the very first Blockbuster store on Skokie Boulevard, and then they franchised and grew from there. So it's weird. I was like a part of like history until Blockbuster disappeared. But it was cool because all my friends from high school would come in and I recommend movies, and I could take movies home for free, and it's good times, good memories.
That must have been a dream, your dream job.
Next to working at the Wilmette Theater as an usher, which you actually performed in for Story Jam pre-pandemic, where I got a chance to come see you and the gang perform live.
Yeah, you know what? We love the Wilmette Theater. Of course, we support the Wilmette Theater. Story Jam started at the Wilmette Theater because it was 6 blocks from my house.
Yeah.
Also because
I'm glad it's still there too, because we were worried that when Mr. Stern, the owner of the Wilmette Theater, retired, he made sure that whoever was going to buy that property was not going to just demolish the theater. So downtown Wilmette still has that nice old time theater that has now been converted for live shows as well as films.
Yes, right. I don't know what they're doing right now. They've been doing a little bit of live and in person, and I think they're showing some films, but they get like the art films still. They still, they still do big releases and smaller releases. I remember seeing 6 Feet. What's that? Oh, it's called 6 Feet from Stardom or something. It was a documentary.
Documentary. I don't recall it.
Okay, about backup singers. About all the backup. Okay. Anyway, but we digress.
Well, we were talking about your interest in the performing arts, and I recall that you were pursuing acting, and I didn't realize at the time you were in high school you also had musical talents.
No, I actually had no musical talent.
Oh, okay. So it came later.
It came later. I wanted to have musical talent. I took some piano and I tried to, tinkle around on the piano. And then I got a guitar suddenly because somebody else didn't want theirs. So I got it, but I sucked. And it took a lot to get there with the music. It took some effort. That is not the kind of thing, well, at least in my case, that I could just make happen. I had to really work at that. I studied theater in college, and then I was in rock bands, and that you can get away with a lot, Jerry. You can just be a screaming rocker. And nobody knows.
I can get away with singing only if I've had copious amounts of Jack and Coke, and I can usually just get away with like singing Blues Brothers tunes that I then regret when people shoot video of you doing it. You find out about it later. But Now, I've always had an incredible respect and admiration for musicians because, well, I feel like I at least might have some rhythm. Maybe I could try the drums. There's just no way I've got the discipline to learn guitar or maybe even piano. So I really have a lot of respect for the discipline and the talent that goes behind what musicians have to learn to perform their craft.
I totally agree with you. Yes, 20 feet from stardom. That was it. E. Heller. Thank you. 20 feet from stardom. I said 6 feet because we can't get that 6 feet out of our heads right now, can we?
I remember, well, you're thinking of the TV show on HBO, 6 Feet Under. Did you used to watch that show?
I was kind of combining 6 feet under with 6 feet apart with stardom. So yes, exactly.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Ed. Good job. We were in the 80s and
we were in the 80s talking about you going to school and studying acting and drama school.
And well, yeah, and that's, you know, you and you moved to LA.
Yeah.
So we came back together when we found each other.
When I moved back. We did. I was so great. It was a nice reunion to meet up with you again.
I always love seeing you.
Which is how I recruited you. I drafted you for that 48-hour film project for that role as the dramatization of the poor conjoined twins. That was a fun shoot.
That was so wrong and yet so it was very fun. You were in command of that ship, Jerry. That was your domain. You are an amazing director.
I had a great cast and a great crew, and I maintain this to this day. A good director is only as good as the cast and the crew he surrounds himself with, because at that point, if you've got good people who know what they're doing, you don't have to micromanage. You just put the team together, and essentially at that point, a director's just like working with the talent, talking about the lines, making sure the composition and the camera is good with the DP, and let everybody do what they're good at. I mean, that's what it should be.
That's what it's like to produce Story Jam too. I feel like there's a link in that, because I'm producing this show. We have storytellers and we have musicians. I think the best thing that I know how to do, and the best thing a producer can do, is know who to hire. And if I get great storytellers and if I get great musicians, the show will be pretty smooth.
Yeah, you delegate to the people you can just let them do their thing.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's a joy. We're so lucky.
And people that you trust. That's an important thing too.
Yes, and people who are kind of fun to work with makes it great. Brings more joy into the room as well. You know, people.
I always say too, though, that in this business of like performing and being creative, a lot of people are in there just pay attention to me. It's all about me, and it's like, you know what? Screw that. If you focus on making each other look good, if everybody comes in with the attitude, forget about me. We've got great people here. I want to make you look good. And if everybody has that attitude, that's when you have magic, because everybody's looking out for each other. It's not about each individual. It's about the cohesive team partnership between people. And when they've also got that trust and that, what's the word? They've got that sense of security around each other. That's when really beautiful stuff happens.
That's so true. That's absolutely true. Because you can't really create and be open and let things flow, let the energy flow, let the creativity flow, unless you do feel comfortable and you have established sort of a sense of trust in the room and comfort. So that's exactly, I totally agree. It's just like being on a film. I remember once being on a film shoot. Now you weren't there. You were living in Hollywood at the time, and I was in a movie as like a very small part in some movie. I think it was called, it was with Alec Baldwin. I bet E. Heller or Arturo Medina are going to tell us who
Alec
this was.
Baldwin or Adam Baldwin?
It was Alec, not Adam.
Prelude to a Kiss?
Yes.
That shot in Chicago. Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah,
yes.
With Meg Ryan.
With Meg Ryan. Okay. So Meg Ryan, I was on this shoot for 3 weeks. Meg Ryan was a total sweetheart. Alec Baldwin was throwing fits left and right on set. Of course he was. I mean, I remember him at one point he was really mad. It was hot out. It was summertime. He took his shoe off his foot and threw it into the tree. It was very, very funny. Everybody was laughing, but it was also horrible because the guy was just creating this environment of discomfort. You know, nobody was happy, and I don't know what became of that film. But
he's a talented actor, but he's too intense. And I think that when that kind of behavior is coddled and enabled, and it shouldn't be, it just breeds more and more people to misbehave and act completely unprofessionally. Making a film, doing a play, performing live, this should be a joy to people. There shouldn't be the stress. And, you know, kind of diverging here, we do see this a lot in film and TV production where we hear about the divas that make working on a set just an absolute nightmare. And it is probably one of the funnest and most amazing jobs in the world. Anybody should be privileged to have that. Anybody makes it a nightmare for people on set because of their egos or anything else it's very, very unfortunate. But it's been enabled through the years. And I'm glad to see, I think, in the era of Me Too, especially as it relates to people using workplaces to sexually harass people, which is blind eyes been turned to that for too long. It has finally graduated into, not only is that not to be tolerated, but just the inhumane cruelty and just the bad attitudes of people working on these sets. There's an Instagram account called, I know it's IATSE Stories, and it's where people who are working on union crews just talk about the horrible abuses that happen on sets, which is, I think, what has along with a lot of other things, has prompted the unions to look at doing a striking. I don't know if they have struck yet, but it's because of these awful working conditions that shouldn't be there. You know, movie companies, they've got a lot of money. They should take care of their employees. Anyway, we're kind of going off on a tangent, but going back to performing and what your background was as an actress, starting out performing, you did Prelude for a Kiss, and then you ultimately started training in your musical career.
Yeah. So I was kind of like, I was doing acting while living a parallel life. So I'd be doing theater stuff, but I was also late night in rock bands in Chicago. I moved to LA for a little while, came back, bounced all over the place, had lots of interesting experiences. And all of those experiences were far more interesting than doing a work of fiction for me. So this element of nonfiction was intriguing. And that's why I feel drawn to storytelling, because these are personal narratives. They're true. They're told in the first person. And then I somehow find a fascination with people who tell their personal narratives, but also elevate them a little bit for performance. So not acty stuff, not acting, but borrowing from some actor techniques and things like using your voice or speaking to the room, or, you know, knowing how to use a microphone, those kinds of technique-y things, putting them into, you know, adding them on top of a really, really good story makes for something kind of special.
Absolutely. And you have been, you have a podcast also, and we'll talk about, okay, so we know Story Jam is happening this Friday, the live event. Why don't you share a little bit about your storytelling classes, so those that might want to become involved with Story Jam or refine their storytelling skills might participate in the programs educational programs that you're offering.
Sure, thanks. Okay, well, if you check out storyjamshow.com, that leads you to storyjamstudio.com, which is where you find out about classes. Jerry, we do not turn anyone away because of money, by the way. We just have a policy in our sort of overall, you know, social justice-y tone. We want to make sure that anyone who wants to come to Story Jam is welcome. And that includes that includes tickets to our shows and also to our classes. We have a couple generous donors who give scholarship money to people, but also I just wanted to let you know that. So
it's important to know for people.
Yeah, that's especially during this tough time
with everybody facing the financial struggles that we're dealing with.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather have people come to our show and come to our classes who really want to learn things and want to be there. Of course, you know, this is our business, but we definitely like to reach out to people who want to be there. So anyway, yes, we are currently running this class that we do. It's an ongoing series called The Writing Room. Every week, a different professor from a different local college, usually Chicago, some out-of-towners, come online, and we spend 3 hours on a Friday afternoon. If you have a normal job, maybe it's a play hooky kind of moment. I mean, we're all working at home now.
Right, nobody knows.
Yeah, I'm clocked in, sure. But the writing room is really fun because it's actually writing time. So we give people time to write. So if they want to learn some techniques, get inspired, be in a community, it's a small room. But then we have a storytelling class that I'll be starting. I think that starts in 2 weeks. And then we have other things where we have this wonderful, wonderful woman named Margaret Guillaumetti starting a memoir class.
This is cool. Yeah, I just scrolled down and saw that.
Yeah. And then Goddess Rising is a class that sort of looks at the history of goddess culture and using that as a tool for inspiration to tell our own stories. Sort of, it sounds very feminine, and it is, but that it's not. We welcome all genders. We don't. It's not like for female identifying people only, of course, but. It's a very, very interesting and inspiring, sort of has a magic kind of feel to it. I think Improv for Storytellers starts in November. That is a really, 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 really fun class. Oh yeah, and then we have the 99-second story. That is learning how to tell a full and complete story with the beginning, middle, and end in 99 seconds. It's an online contest.
It's like an elevator pitch training.
Yeah.
You need to tell somebody something quickly that you have a moment with them.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, some people come to that. It's taught by me and this guy, Sean Wellington, who is sort of a marvel online, and he's developed a lot of these kinds of workshops and things. So we co-teach that. It's a blast. Acting and performing for the stage will be taught by Arlene Malinowski. She's a local sort of celeb in the storytelling.
I've heard of her, and I think I may have even met her. I'm just not placing when and where. But
you've probably seen her at Story Jam, Jerry.
Okay, maybe that's what it was.
Yeah. Our next writing room class starts in November, as you can see. I'm glad you're pulling this up because I certainly wouldn't have been able to remember all of this.
I want everybody to know about all the cool things that you're involved in and that you're offering, because look, for people in our viewing audience that are creatives that don't know where to go, what resources, these are mostly right now virtual, I believe.
Yes.
So there's a safety element integrated there. And look at this young lady. She knows what she's talking about to create and run these classes with the other creatives that she's put together. So it's a great opportunity for people to discover something else to participate in as we're still kind of dealing with the tail end of quarantines and lockdowns and trying to stay safe, cultivating your crafts.
Yes, for sure. I mean, storytelling may not appeal to, not everybody wants to go to a slam and try to compete in storytelling, or we do that, or to go on stage and share their personal truth. Not everybody wants to do that, but maybe some people want to learn how to inject a personal story into some speech or into some pitch or sales pitch of some kind or marketing pitch. And because, personal stories connect us, I feel like anybody could benefit from learning the art of storytelling.
Everything we do, the foundation, the base is based in knowing how to tell a story. As you just said, with marketing, with business, with interpersonal relationships, and being comfortable and knowing how to not do cliff notes, but kind of get to the points and build and engage and keep people's attention. So,
yeah. You want to kind of get to the point right away as much as you can, especially in a story. You don't, and here's a rule. Okay, here's a tip. Here's a good tip. If you're going to tell someone a story, please do not start the story by saying, "Oh my God, let me tell you about the time I almost died." And then blah 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 blah.
Because you've blown the surprise.
You just blew it.
You got to lead up to the big finale and the big twist and the surprise.
See, this is a filmmaker, of course, but not everybody knows it. Now that everybody who tells a story in real life, they're like, "Oh my God, man, we were so drunk last night. Let me tell you about our drunk crazy night." And then I'm like, "Well, I just heard the whole story because that's all I needed. You had a drunk crazy night."
I got to also throw out another tip for people, especially creatives writing scripts, screenplays, and again, totally going off track, but this completely relates to what we saw with the last Star Wars sequels. before you write a story, know where your end is to get there.
Yeah.
Disney and Lucasfilm had no clue where it was going to end, which is why those sequels were like cinematic malpractice as far as not serving. Oh, hello, Oreo. Look who's just jumped into the chat here. As far as not serving the characters or really properly bringing the whole Star Wars saga to a conclusion. That's a whole other thing, but it really does relate to, Stephanie, I see so many TV shows and I'm like, did these writers even take screenwriting 101? Because they don't know where it's going. They don't know where the destination is. It's all over the place. So when they get to a destination, nothing that preceded it makes sense. So you really do need to know whether it's a screenplay or a TV series or anything. It's always helpful to know what the ending is so you can plot to get to that destination, especially if it's fiction. Now, this doesn't really come into play if you're telling real life stories. But as Stephanie said, don't blow your ending when you compel people to listen to you from the beginning.
Yeah. Don't blow your ending, but also actually it does apply. I think a lot of the same theories apply because, you want to create suspense and you want to build stakes, right? And in storytelling, we build stakes by giving emotional information.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter. Let's say you're taking a trip to the gas station and you're going to fill your car with gas. Great. That's not interesting. What's interesting is if you go to the gas station and it suddenly reminds you of the time you were in the back of your dad's car and he was rifling around the car digging for coins so that he could fill your car with gas so you guys could get home. Okay, there's emotional information. And now going to the gas station has something meatier to it. And that's how we build stakes and how we teach those kinds of things in classes. It's fun to do that. And it's fun to do it at a party or to do it, around, when you're with people to kind of try it out.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's fun.
So not only has this been about Story Jam, but this has been a beginning storytellers class hosted by Stephanie Rogers and supported a little bit by Jerry Vasilatos. Oh, so we have a question. Love Tagore. So can I ask an honest question in the chat? We haven't really talked too much with our live chatters, but please, Love Tagore, shoot with your honest question. Go ahead. Let's wait here with a little drum roll and see what Love Tagore. They say don't laugh.
Oh, this is going to be embarrassing. I can tell already.
I don't know.
Can I ask an honest question? I mean,
in the chat, we're waiting.
Do you know Love Tagore, Jerry?
No, not outside participating in the chats here.
Oh, this is gonna be interesting.
Oh, so let me go to Ed Heller while we wait for Love Tagore. Oreo heard you talking about the Star Wars movies. Arturo, it's a trap. Art, I'm not sure if Steph's met Art because Art worked on 48-hour film projects, but
yeah, I know your name.
Yeah, it wasn't the one. Okay, so Love Tagore. Okay. I want to watch Star Wars, but I heard there was a certain sequence to watching them. Is that true? And if so, can someone set the record straight?
Oh, you Steph, came to the right place.
Are you a Star Wars fan as much as I am?
No, Jerry. No one is as much of a Star Wars fan as you are, buddy.
Okay, so Love Tagore, here's my advice. I think in Star Wars world, we can choose our own canon, and this is what I recommend. You watch Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, ignore the sequels, ignore the prequels, then go to Disney Plus and watch The Mandalorian. And then also watch Rogue One and Solo, A Star Wars Story. The only stuff that's worth a damn is the stuff that takes place in the original Star Wars universe. You have to cultivate the good stuff from the bad. And why is Oreo fighting with me? I'm just worried he's going to hit something and make the lamp go out. But so that's my advice. Now, if you wish to watch all the other Star Wars movies, Love Tagore, you're going to be disappointed. But I can tell you the quality stuff is the original trilogy, Rogue One, Solo, A Star Wars Story, and the Mandalorian series on Disney Plus. That's all you need, and it's plenty. And you're going to love it because it's mythology, it's the hero's journey, rich characters that resonate with you, whether they live in another galaxy or. That's the appeal of Star Wars to me, is the characters more than the special effects and stuff, which was the problem with the prequels and the sequels. It all became special effects and you didn't care about what was going on because you couldn't relate to the characters on a unique personal level. So nothing to laugh about there, Love Tagore. It's a good question.
I was really worried that was going to be something personal.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure. Well, there's nothing.
But you were bold and brave, Jerry. You just like let that roll. You let that. You just put the
If it was
question.
personal, I would have known how to roll with it. I mean, I've shared personal stuff on the show here before, not so much, but enough that I think people know that I'm self-effacing enough not to take myself seriously and have fun with it. So
nice.
So Love Tagore says, so I have prequels to watch before a secret sequence of the movies. Now, Love Tagore, really quickly, just watch Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, then watch Rogue One and watch Solo. They take place out of order, but you need to know the original movies to understand the relevance of Rogue One and the relevance of Solo, because they are prequels that focus on the main characters, but you need to know the main characters' stories before you see their backstory. And then The Mandalorian is like a really cool, it's like a Western in space. So yeah, there you go.
You should kind of write this down, because
I've put this on Facebook. I get into all kinds of arguments and debates, and you know what social media is like with this.
I know what you're like. I don't know what it's like.
Well, I'm glad that you forgive me for being what I'm like. So
you love to debate. It's just part of your nature.
And it's not even to be contrarian. It's just sometimes we get really passionate about things. And when you don't feel like you're being heard, that's when you start getting like me. And I know I got to kind of tone it down, but you know, it's frustration and just outrage at seeing things that are happening that I wish more people would pay attention to resolving the right way. So.
And you make these touching, beautiful films.
Yes. And tell these touching, beautiful stories, as our audiences can discover at Story Jam this Friday night at the Old Town School of Music, starting at
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock, where they'll be able to see Steph and her very talented crew. Is there anything? Look, I could talk all night with you because we haven't talked for a while. I don't want to hold you up, but is there anything else you want to share with the audience that's going on, or I don't know.
I just want to say I love you, Jerry Vasilatos.
I love you, Steph.
That's all I want to say.
Mwah, mwah.
Okay.
What fun stories we have to tell from our years at New Trier.
Oh
That could be a story. You know what? You should reach out to, because essentially we lived the movies that John Hughes produced, from 16 Candles to Breakfast Club to Ferris Bueller's. And by the way, I'm going to go on the record and say, I think that John Hughes had to know who Phil Clement was, because Phil Clement was our Ferris Bueller.
He totally was.
He was totally our, and I hope he's watching this show, or we'll have to send him this clip later. But I always look at Phil throughout the years and I'm like, that's where Ferris Bueller would have gone had we seen him.
He's totally Ferris Bueller. I was in 16 Candles, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yes. And I mean, as an extra. So like we were high school kids at the party or whatever. I don't know. But I remember being, that culture was the culture we lived in, but it was very white. It was very myopic, and we didn't have the benefit of a worldview. You know what I mean? Back then. So that's a shame.
I think once, I left the North Shore and went to school downtown and lived in downtown in Chicago, went to Columbia College. Thankfully, my eyes were open to a lot of things that we weren't exposed to. And that's probably why I'm a little bit more sensitive to these things that I talk about on the show and try to bring to people's attention, because I don't want to say it's a malicious or intentional insensitive thing. But honestly, people who grow up in a bubble, who grow up in certain neighborhoods that don't have the opportunity to travel and explore and discover what other people's lives are like, are never going to understand that there's more happening in the world that we all have to kind of come together on to team up against, because of the injustices and the inequality and inequities, because the people sometimes have not experienced those injustices and inequities. You got to walk in another person's shoes to understand what the world is like, not just the bubble you grew up in. So,
yeah, I have to tell you that we did grow up in a bubble on the North Shore of Chicago, and storytelling, even at our age now, which we will not say publicly, but even at our age,
she's 25, I'm 30.
Yeah, I kind of like this storytelling thing. We try to get as much diversity in the show as possible.
I did see that. No, that's and you should. I mean, it's great. You're very, very conscious of that, and because there are other stories to tell.
But it really. Do you hear an echo too, or is that just me?
That might be just you. I'm not hearing it.
Okay. This show has afforded me the chance to increase my worldview, and it's afforded me the chance every time we do the show to just open my eyes, open my heart to experiences and cultures and races and backgrounds and identities and physical abilities and disabilities and ages and other, ways people are diverse. To open my heart and mind to those experiences, and it makes me, I hope, a better person with each production. Every time we do it, I'm like, man, I just learned something new. And when you see someone on stage who is an immigrant, this guy Nestor Gomez, he's like one of the top storytellers in the country. Actually, he's won more slams than I think anybody alive. But anyway, he's in our show pretty regularly. He's a guy who came from Guatemala, who via Mexico, who was here.
I think I saw him at a show. I think I've seen him.
You've seen him for sure. And he was undocumented for like 30 years, I think, in living in Chicago. And it was cool to watch him tell one of his immigration stories to our audience, because the audience, you can read about immigration, you can read about all of the ins and outs of the politics of it, but to actually see someone on stage telling you what it's like to live undocumented in this country, what his experience is, it's something. There's something totally different about that than reading about it or
personalizes it. It personalizes it, and it brings it to life. And I think what you're talking about, what everybody can take away from the show, as well as what you said for yourself, is growth. You grow as a person. Experiencing these things, or you feel like you experience them because you're getting the personal story from the person who's experienced them to share with the audience.
Yeah, totally.
Do you want to give us a quick rundown of some of the performers who will be with you this Friday night? Give them a shout out.
Man, we have 16 performers.
Do you remember all their names? I hope.
No, but there's
Carmenita, put you on the spot, but
Carmenita Peoples, Lynn Jordan, Melissa Reeves, Richard Munchkin, one of the top gamblers in the country from Las Vegas. This guy, Sean Wellington, coming from North Carolina. So we have Seattle, North Carolina. We have Rana Levy coming from New York. We have local storytellers, Nestor Gomez, Archie Jamjun. Did I say Lynn Jordan? She's a Chicago singer diva type. She's awesome. And we have a new girl, not Miranda, Melinda Hernandez. She's young from East Humboldt Park, and she's fresh out of Stanford University. So she's going to talk about being her neighborhood, growing up in her neighborhood. And I think that's pretty. Oh, and then Maria Morris, who's from Wilmette, who's hilariously funny. She's a Moth star. Ann Perky and Maria Costas, another fellow Greek like you.
Like me. Not as swarthy as I am. Is this a lady you just mentioned?
Yes. And
probably a beautiful Greek goddess.
She is a Greek goddess. And so are you, Jerry. I've seen you in your Batman suit. You're a Greek god, if nothing else. But no, she's taking us. She's taking us to like a Greek town. Not a Greek town, a Greek fest this weekend at St. Demetrius Church.
Oh my God, that's the church I was baptized in.
They're having
what is this? You're going on Saturday?
Yeah, you better come with us.
Room for one more?
Absolutely.
I wish I could make the show Friday night, but I'll feel great catching up and meeting you and the performers on Saturday. Yeah, I'd love to join you guys for that.
Awesome.
Definitely. My father went and my mother were married in that church. My father went to Greek school and Sunday school in that church. In fact, if you go to the basement, they've got like all the pictures like from the 1930s and 40s of the kids who went to classes there. And if you know which one to look at, you find a picture of my dad when he was a little boy. It's a great church.
Oh my God, no way. Oh wait, I forgot to mention Corey May, this guy, Corey May. He's from Iowa. He's coming. He's part of Story Jam. Okay. I forgot him. He's going to tell an awesome story. He's a big Toastmaster. There's some crossover with Toastmasters and storytellers sometimes, actors. Sometimes just performer types come and do storytelling. And then what's most interesting is when the regular people come do storytelling, because they're the best. They're just natural. They don't know it. Oh, wait. Oh, Love Tagore really needs you to write down.
All right. No. Here's the order, Love Tagore. The original Star Wars, which is also subtitled A New Hope. That's the first one. The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, Rogue One, and Solo, a Star Wars story. After you've watched those films, if you have Disney Plus, watch The Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2. Now, E. Heller is talking about the Clone Wars. I disagree. I mean, I'm not going to dispute and argue with E. Heller, but the Clone Wars are related to the prequels, which I don't care about, and I don't think they were good storytelling. But my advice is that list I just gave you, and there's going to be another season of The Mandalorian coming, as well as the Book of Boba Fett, who is a character from the original movies. It'll be on Disney Plus. All that stuff takes place within the original trilogy era, which I grew up on when I was 12. So I think there's a bit of nostalgia to all that. But Love Tagore, email me at jerry@chicagocorner.tv for more information. I will be happy to write you back if this is still confusing for you, and hopefully it's not. So listen, oh wow, this is a cool one. Arturo, invite the 48-hour film project people to tell their horror stories. Listen, I cannot emphasize enough. If you're not a performer and you're not a filmmaker, go to Story Jam. If you are a creative and you want to find a team here at the last minute, go to Ericka's 48-hour film project page, find a team to join, participate if you're creative. But look, there are two incredible things happening this Friday in Chicago on two different fronts. Entertainment for everybody. And we also mentioned, and I wasn't going to bring this up, but it's cool, the St. Demetrius Greek picnic is Saturday. And I think they actually go all weekend. So maybe if people come to the picnic on Saturday, they'll find us in the tent drinking ouzo and downing lucumades, and we'll have a chance to meet some of the people who are joining us tonight.
Awesome.
Sounds good to you?
Amazing.
I miss you, Steph. I'm so glad I got a chance to bring you on.
I can't believe how lucky I am to talk to you. Thank you so much, Jerry. It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Can't wait to see you on Saturday. And so I know that there might be a gap between this Friday and the next live Story Jam show. Do you have just a rough idea when you might do another live one after this Friday?
Yeah, we're going to do the next one January 17th. It's MLK Day. We're going to do it at Space in Evanston, where we always do our MLK Day show, except, well, this year we had a virtual MLK Day show. But yes, we just booked that, so that's going to happen. It should happen, hopefully.
But in the meantime, people can participate in all of the Story Jam upcoming classes. Go to that website, which is storyjamshow.com. I have that right?
Yes, Story Jam.
My eyes are so bad. I'm squinting at the other screen here.
I know. I'm wearing my damn glasses because we're from the 80s, man. Yeah, look at us. We're from the 80s. Dude. Oh,
we look like we work in a library.
You look super cute. You look adorable. You look adorable.
You are lovely. I don't even have to say that. Anyway, and you're married, so I can't say anymore. But listen.
No,
I can. John. All right.
Sure.
Well,
what does he care?
Well, it's nothing but flattery. He's a very lucky man. That's what I'm getting to. Very lucky man.
You're too kind.
All right, listen to everybody, please. If you can, go out to one of these events this Friday night. I'm really glad we were able to spend some time talking about inspirational cultural events in Chicago. It's probably the second time. It won't be the last, as I try to get more people on the show to talk about other events as we also shift into politics and news other nights. Remember, everybody, that if it's happening on the streets, you'll hear about it here on Chicago Corner. I want everybody to have a really safe week. Take part in these events this Friday. I'll be back on Friday at 7:30 for it will probably be a weekly news wrap-up show where I won't be able to enjoy Story Jam or the 48-hour film project, but I will be at both in spirit. And Stephanie, again, it was a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you, Jer.
Love
See
you.
you.
Bye. Good night, everybody. Be safe, Chicago.